And we are live. Welcome to Bead Maker and Coffee in the last week of April with our host, Sydney Brigwin, and her special guest, Matt Fleshman from The Detail Shop, which is awesome. We were just there. So, Sid, take it away.
Good morning, Matt. Long time no see. Hopefully you've recovered from the big event this weekend. So for those that, yes, now all the animals are coming in. So for those that don't know, we had a big 2-day event in St. Louis, Missouri at Matt's shop this weekend. We did a paint correction and stout training on Friday. And then we had an open house that was intermingled between a cruise and all sorts of car stuff going on in St. Louis. They've got a whole, they just go all in, all sorts of stuff just goes all in, right? All in one day. So that was super fun. And I know for Keith and I, it's been, we've been waiting for years to come to St. Louis, right? And I know Bob was upset that he wasn't able to be there. But man, what a great shop you've built, and what a great event. But before we go into too many details of this weekend, tell everybody your story. How did we get here?
Well, it really started. I used to detail out of my garage. Like many detailers, you're either. I think most of people are either mobile or out of the garage. Yep. And I worked out of my garage, God, forever, right? And about 5 years ago, we had moved into a new subdivision, and we have a homeowners association, right? And that can be a problem if you detail or have a small business in your subdivision, right? Yeah. And so everything was going fine up until about 21, 22. And we had a neighbor that, just, I don't know what it is. Even though we put one car in, we closed it, they had a problem, they made an issue, we couldn't do it anymore. So it put me on this mission to be able to find a location to not only detail cars, and that was kind of I think the big awakening is when you leave the mobile or your garage, it kind of transforms. Oh, we'll have cats too, don't worry. Yeah. This is where they'll be. But there's a big difference between working in your garage or mobile versus a shop. So I knew it was going to take some time to get that worked out. And so last year we were able to open up at a new location here in St. Louis. We started off with about 3,500 square foot, so that front area where we wash and vacuum. Yeah. We've added the back end, which is another 3,500 square feet, where we do the corrections or we do the application of the ceramic coating. So it's been a wild journey, I will say that. Going from your garage to the big shop, night and day. Lots of lessons still being learned every day.
Yeah, and now you have employees, which we got to meet all of your employees. They're all so great. So that must have been quite the transition as well.
Employees, adding employees to your business is it's a pro and a con. There's lots of things. I think it's hard to scale without employees. Particularly the older you get, you realize you can't crank as many cars by yourself.
Right.
So you're going to have employees to be able to grow your business. And that's a hard pill to swallow because you're not going to be touching every car sometimes.
Right.
So that's a challenge for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just a huge jump, and it's a huge amount of space and everything. So, but it seems like you've done it very well. I mean, you've got a great crew. The shop is absolutely amazing. I've watched you for several years, right? You've been kind of involved in TikTok. You were, one of the detailers on TikTok that kind of made TikTok a thing in your daily business. And so now obviously you've done a lot with social media. You've, helped educate others and all of that. So you've really learned how to take social media and incorporate that in your business. And I would venture to say that probably played a pivotal role when you did make that jump from your garage to a shop, right? Because you were able to, what's going on with my computer here? You were able to, incorporate that and obviously get your name out there more in your local area, which is obviously the most important thing. So, I know I mean, we've enjoyed watching you over the years, and it's been cool to watch your journey. So thank you for letting us in your house this weekend. By your house, I mean your shop.
Sure.
It was so great. And honestly, like, we've been waiting forever to come there, and it was just so great. We had so much fun. So thank you for that. It was awesome.
You're welcome.
So for those that didn't see, make sure you go back and watch Matt's social media, which is the Detail Shop. And then obviously PNS, there's lots of good stuff on there. Buff and Shine was there with us, as was Flex. And I mean, we had such a great time.
Yeah,
no, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Matt, I will say, looking at your shop, one of the things that I think a lot of business owners miss is you have a core set of values and beliefs of what your business should be and how it should serve your customers. And I think that translates to your staff. And I think that that's a huge part, in my opinion, of why you're able to make it work, is because you know who you are, you know who you want to be to your customers and who you want your people to be. And they've adopted that. You can see it in every one of your staff.
No, I appreciate that. And it's true. And I know, and I tell my guys all the time, I told you that, I'm like, sometimes I can come across kind of gruff or a little harsh, but I go, when you're so driven, the key is it has to start with the employees. If your employees are not bought into what your goals are, which have to, by the way, align with their goals. I mean, can't just be, it's not all about us, right? We all grow together. But to grow and scale to what we've done, I mean, you go out and do these events. The shop is big. To orchestrate it all, continue to put it together. I, by no stretch of the imagination, can be doing any of this by myself. So I have to rely upon other people. And if they're not bought in, they'll show up. Yes, they'll do it. But I just have a high standard, and thank goodness I've got those guys, because they are awesome. Yeah. Nervously awaiting their arrival. They're at the shop already getting started. The last comment to a dean is understand you're touching 8 cars today. Let's just keep that in mind, right? That's a lot.
That's wild. That's wild. Very cool. Very cool. Keith, any comments about the event this weekend? I mean, it was just great.
It was fantastic. It's really cool to see a business engaged in its market. Normally we're a distributor, right? And so, but to have a distributor go, this is my guy in this market, really has been the goal of our storefront program. It's been the goal of all of our engagement, is to connect to the end user, our detailers that use our product. And we had 16 students in the class on Friday, which is, an incredible turnout. And, in St. Louis, which is a market we're not known for really being in well. So to have your distributor there and support you, and to have you guys have such a great relationship. I know a lot of business owners say, it's got to be, you got to hold that guy accountable and be after your, and I really look at it and I go, that distributor is your partner in success, and you're his partner in his success. And, that's what we've been trying to build for the decade or so I've been involved with PNSX, almost 2 decades now. And it's great to see that happen, and we didn't do that. You guys did that, Matt. You and Clint did that. And that's what we love about the industry. Sid and I are really benefiting from the last 3 years of travel. I don't know if we can say that out loud, but in that we get to see it every day. Everywhere we go, we get to see that. And it still amazes me every time I see it, because it is such a cool thing. Plus, people went to your shop. Now, 20 years ago, nobody would have walked in your shop. That was another detail, because it was all about the competition.
Sure.
Today, everybody's looking for an opportunity to engage and connect. And you've created a nice, safe place in your market to do that. And you're the guy there. And I can't commend you enough for that. That's really cool.
No, I appreciate it. It's, that I always said the biggest thing is, we as a business owner, we're not selling details. We are building and selling relationships, but the same thing goes with, no matter if it's the client, it's a distributor, business is really hard. And if you think you can do it on your own, you're not going to be able to. So you have to look as everyone as some type of partner. And not everything's going to be perfect, but there has to be that good relationship. I don't believe in competition. You saw that. I mean, we have a shop right across the street. You saw literally people that I consider my competitors are there supporting me, and vice versa. So that is important to me, that we built a community And you saw it. I mean, that was probably the coolest thing that I said. Where else, in St. Louis here, you show up and you could have industry experts that you could talk to. We're showing up at the local car shows. We had the training. That was cool this weekend.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. It'll go down as one of my favorite trips. So that was super fun.
Well, mine too.
Perfect. All right. Well, this is the part of the show, because I know we want to get into questions. This is the part of the show where we go over what was our favorite product that we used last week. It does not have to be a P&S product. Mine will be, of course, but so Matt, we'll let you go first.
Sure. It's actually going to be release, only because for me, being a kind of a detailing nerd, I like to know the whys and the hows behind in the story. We kind of talked about it, right?
Yep.
And when you start to understand the reason why the product was developed and what it does, that was kind of like my aha moment, right? And we were talking about, why do you use certain products? And obviously, not everybody's going to use straight P&S, straight whatever. We have a mix and match of products, right?
Yeah.
But we were talking about, like, using something for releasing of carpet that really you were kind of the first one to start utilizing something. It wasn't the same form that it was today. Because let's face it, for me as an operator, what drags me down and adds labor hours are the interiors that we do either on a retail or on a dealer car. So with time being money, I'm always looking for ways to improve, number one, efficiencies. I should really say number one, results, number two, efficiencies, but let's face it, efficiencies. And that is a product that allows us to do that because, again, there's a myriad of conditions you get cars in. And knowing when you can potentially just say, hey, with a good vacuum, we can get this one knocked out, a product like Release does that. So understanding the technology, which I'm glad you explained it to me, and now that's why we're using it. And I'm willing to spend the money to use that, put it in the cars because it does a good job. So Release.
Yeah.
That's my
Very
word.
cool. Thank you. Awesome. So mine is therapy. And a couple caveats here. I know that after we release a new product, I tend to always say whatever the new product is, but I need you guys to understand this. So I obviously get to use the product for months before it comes out, right? So it's not really new to me, but I also haven't been able to talk about it. But the fun part about therapy for me is that when during development with Dave, we worked on this and, of course I went through the whole process of, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it works. All the testing and stuff, the R&D, like I did all of that, but I'm going to be honest. I wasn't overly excited about it during testing. I knew it worked, but I honestly didn't think that it would be a product that I thought I personally would use that much. Just because I don't like to do two-step corrections, right? Like that's why I get so excited about rehab. I like the one step. I like to get in, get out, get it done, all that. However, in the last 2 weeks, I've done, I think probably 5 coatings and crazy range of situations. I had a couple brand new cars. I had a 2008 FJ Cruiser. I had a 2005 Porsche 911, like just crazy cars that I was trying to rehab. I had a 2011 Q7 that was just absolutely destroyed. And I could not believe, in my mind, I was like, this is going to be a product that is great, but I probably won't use it that much in my shop. And the number of times in the last 2 weeks that I had to grab for therapy, and I was so thankful that I had it. It really got me out of some jams. And like specifically on that Porsche 911 that I did post on my own social media. I'm not very good about posting on my own, but I did. The paint was just absolutely hammered. And no matter what you put on it with your first step, the product stayed there. Like you could see every pass I was making.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It didn't wipe off. It didn't come off with paint prep. But in my test spots, I realized that if I used the Oreo pad, buzzed over it, and it got all the scratches out, but the product stayed behind and did all my pass lines. And then I just went right back over it with therapy. It was near 100% correction. And it was absolutely gorgeous. And so for me, I was like, I could have struggled trying to complete a one step. I would have had to step down to like a yellow pad and sacrifice the level of correction to avoid the marring and the dryness in the paint. And instead, I was able to do like a hybrid of a two-step where I did a couple quick buzzes with rehab and then a couple quick buzzes with therapy. It actually ended up saving me so much time, even though I was technically doing a two-step. But just figuring out that combo and the fact that I had the product to do it that would work with rehab in that way, on just really, really finicky paint. I mean, I was literally like, thank goodness for therapy. So I was amazed at how many times I had to grab it in the last 2 weeks. And I was so thankful for it. And it smells amazing. So I think that was just for me where I learned, to not always count something out. I knew it was a good product. I just figured I'd never use it. And man, I was so thankful that I had it. So it's one of those that, I sit here and say I could probably live the whole rest of my life as a detailer with just rehab, but, therapy kind of proved me wrong on that. So.
No, we love it too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Keith, did you have a favorite one?
I did.
Besides the Oreo pad?
Well, hey, the Oreo pad. Look, so shout out to Big T, Tony Mazzell, who came to Matt's event as well. And we certainly don't want to forget him. And a big shout out to Chris with Flex, who provided us with some great tools and some new toys to play with and for us to get some new experiences. Yeah, no, the Oreo pad and rehab are just, the actual world champs of one-step correction, but not my product. So as Bead Maker turns 10 years old, actually a little more than that this year, as far as being for sale in the market, I actually want to talk about its successor. I think the heir to the championship belt being Defender. Matt, we had a higher humidity environment. We were actually out in direct sunlight. We were working on a black car that was a little dry. And I got to tell you, in every instance that we worked on a car at your shop that we put Defender on, we had no streaking. We had no problems. The paint was slick as hell. It looked good. It popped instantly. So kind of gets pushed to the side because we always have something new going. But Defender's just a kick butt product. And so that was my product of the week was Defender. And like Dave said, this one's mine. Defender was just a great product for really, in my opinion, your environment that you foster when you have people come to your shop for your open house. We can go out there and we can put it on a car outside. We can do it inside. It just really has a lot of universal appeal and it performs like a champ. So that was my product of the week.
I don't think people realize that I put you guys to work on Saturday. I mean, we were all over the place. There were a ton of cars that we came through and serviced. We're going to the show, and I mean, it's nice to be able to show people, especially the one guy with the black the Hemi Duster. The difference between two products. It's nice to do.
It was awesome. It was very cool. All right, well, let's jump into all of our good mornings and questions. We've got lots of people in here saying good morning, but I have seen some excellent questions come up. So let's dive on in. We are already almost 30 minutes into this.
All right. Well, good morning to Frank. Good morning to Steve. Hey, Steve got his release and his finisher. Steve, we know you're going to be happy. So just tell us how happy you are after you use them.
Well, Steve has already used release. So he ordered the gallon after getting the pint because he loved it. So that's awesome. Love it, Steve.
So Matt, I don't know if you know, but Stoich TV is our partner in Guam.
Oh, okay. No.
So you want to talk about high humidity? Use your Defender there. That's the place. So morning, Bob Cox, awesome to have him on. Jeff Kotz, awesome. Hey, we're all the way to the other side of the pond. We got Gabriel on with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Gabriel.
Good morning.
So I had a little conversation with Mr. Medcraft this morning, and look who showed up to the show.
Alan. Man, Alan, you got to call me. We haven't talked forever. Yes, Sid's cat is on a wild journey. He is a little bit crazy.
He's tripping. I think he's had some catnip.
Yeah, well, he had his coffee this morning, and that always gets him going. But Alex Dewar from Canada, good morning, all you beautiful people. Happy to be here. We are happy you are with us as well.
We are covering all corners of the globe, so we are doing it today.
We've got it covered. John Poe, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dan's Diamond Detail. Love it. Friend of the show, Sarah Riles. Hey, Sarah. Good morning.
Hey, Sarah.
Good morning.
All right. Morning. I need to catch up on DGP. Busy schedule here, family.
Yeah, that's a detail grind podcast for those.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yes.
Friends of the show as well.
Yep. All right, Gabriel. This is a good question. During those trainings and open days, are you also still able to learn something new from each other as a trainer? I'm going to say absolutely. I learn so much at every single training. I learn so much from the new guys, the guys that have been in business, people like Matt. I never stop learning. I always take home, and it may be in business, it may be in life. I learn all the time. How about you, Matt?
Oh, no, absolutely. First off, never stop learning. And that's the coolest thing is, I think, is after training and things are done where, and I'm going to kind of talk about this, we pulled some pads and we went to work. We started doing some real-world testing. And again, I'm new. So Flex, thank you, Flex brought in some machines. I was new to using it. I was having some challenges. So he's like, nope, hold on, time out. Let's do this, this, 2 tweaks, right? I always say it, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you should be leaving. Always be leaving, guys. It's the most valuable thing you can do. Every day.
I almost always every training learn what not to do.
True.
And I usually learn, what somebody else is doing that's cool and different that nobody else is doing. And I go, wow, okay, that's cool. But the biggest thing I think I learned with all these trainings is what's going on in the industry. You get in a chair like mine. Sid's a little different because she still details cars every day. But I don't. And so the only way I know what's going on with cars and paint and what's happening in the industry is by the touch points that I get by being out with our customer base. So for me, it's invaluable. It keeps me grounded to what's happening in the industry. And I think that's super important. So
And to hear from detailers kind of what their business challenges are and what they're facing with, pushback from customers and how they're doing their pricing and stuff, like that is always so helpful. And so, I had so many great conversations with detailers at the event this weekend, both during the training, really great conversations, but then even on Saturday during the open house, a couple of them came in and it was so nice to just be able to dive in, and help them with their business and have them, kind of share, their journey and stuff. It's so great to be able to connect in person with people like that. And I don't know how you can't come away and just feel, your cup is full again, regardless of what side you're on. If you're a detailer, if you're new in the business, or if you're us, we're running our shops every day. I'm sure Matt would agree is that, it fills your cup back up and then you're ready to go out there and just slay it again. Right.
Well, here, for instance, here's a particular opportunity. If you remember, there was a mom and a son there.
Yeah.
They signed up for those classes, and I'm going to kind of help them kind of outside here, but they came there to learn how to start their business. They want to get 3 to 4 basic skill sets in place so they can start immediately making money. So that was an opportunity that came out of training. If that doesn't, I have my cat here. If that doesn't excite you, then I don't know what gets you excited. So that's one amazing thing about training. You say hi to everybody.
Your little white socks. Oh, I love the white socks. So cute.
The cat and detailing podcast.
Love it.
But so again, that's an opportunity from one of these trainings. That's rewarding.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Very much so. And then in the same training, we had a guy that had been in business for 20 years?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
But it's
crazy.
There's always something you could take away if it makes you a little bit more efficient over time. That makes you money.
Yep. Well, and then we had Bruce there, which I think Bruce is a great example. Super enthusiast, really doesn't do it every day for a living, but he's invested in getting certified and did all the things. And you go, we have such a broad definition of who is a detailer, what is a detailer. There's a space for everybody in our industry, which is kind of cool, so I do love that about our industry.
It is,
First from Puerto Rico, good morning. He is saying good morning to everybody as well. We'll jump down here to Steve's question.
Says, release was my product of the week too. It saved my butt on a dog hair car, and I also ordered some for real gear too. Yes. The two work together beautifully.
Yes, because a lot of people complain sometimes the fertile is a little too grabby, and release just really gives it a great amount of glide. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So more
Good
good
morning. First from Puerto Rico. Somehow he always he gets everybody. He knows how to say good morning. Yeah. He says good morning to everyone.
Look who's with us. 404 not found. There we go.
Nice. Love it. Love it, love it. Okay, Frank says, can therapy be used as a one-step just to brighten up the paint, and any pad recommendation? So I'm going to say no, and here's why. I don't want anybody to, kind of set themselves up for failure. So therapy, it's not going to do a ton of cutting. The abrasive that's in therapy, its whole point is to remove marring caused by step one, right? So it's not going to remove a lot of defect. It's going to remove very surface marring, swirling, things like that. It also is going to put moisture back into the paint. It's going to brighten it up, provide a lot of gloss, all of that. But it truly is a finishing product. So while, and I gave this example during the training because people asked, could I have used this? I did a couple Fords recently that were literally straight off the lot, brand new, I'm not even sure had been run through a car wash yet. Right. Could I have polished those with just therapy? Probably, because I literally didn't see any marring. But in that case, I still would choose rehab because we're not going over every inch of that vehicle with a light. So I would still use rehab because then I know it's kind of like an insurance policy. I know it's removed any marring, swirling defects that are anywhere on that vehicle and still has a fantastic finish as a one step. So I would not recommend using therapy as a one step because I would be afraid that you would leave something behind, and I don't want anybody to go, well, therapy doesn't cut well. It was never supposed to. So
I put an asterisk on that. I think where detailers get too caught up is sometimes in terms or one step, two step.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. If your car's coming in, you and the client have agreed to a certain level of finish, whether you want to call it a one step, two step, that secondary finishing with therapy and a white pad or whatever it is that you choose to do, this is meant to be something that if it's even a Tahoe or a Suburban is like 20 minutes, right? This is meant to just buzz through, fix everything that we might have done. Don't get caught up in they're only paying because it's a 1.25 step, whatever you want to do, right? Just stop talking in terms.
Yeah.
If you do that, it'll make sense.
Yeah. Yep. It's all about level of expectation. And what we did in the training was something that I do constantly in my own shop. So we had that. What's the black vehicle?
It's a 55. It's just a 55 Chevy that was chopped. So 55 Chevy.
Okay. So we did a chopped 55 Chevy. So this happens all the time on even my recent cars, is you go through the whole vehicle, you do the one step with rehab, everything looks great. But then you look at the hood, which the hood on every vehicle tends to be the worst of the entire area. It's also the one area that the customer notices. So the same thing on that 55, we made the choice that, hey, you know what? We're not doing a two-step on this car, but let's go ahead and just buzz the hood with therapy just for that final pop. It took 5 minutes?
Right.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even something. Yeah. And so we buzz the hood. I do that all the time in my own shop, and I don't consider that I'm doing a two-step. It's something that it takes you 5 minutes that gives huge results. And so, you can always do that as well. You're not committed to have to do it to the whole vehicle. So, but yes, it is going to brighten up, but I wouldn't use it as, don't expect any level of defect removal from therapy. This is meant to remove the defects from your first step.
Right. And if you're not going to coat it and you're just trying to kind of do a one step or one process to just brighten it up and send it out the door, I might look at an all-in-one product for that. If you're just trying to buzz it, in which I would use Ultra Coat Polish on that. For that, if you're trying to brighten up the paint and then you're going to coat it or do something with it, then I probably would go with rehab for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good question.
Good morning, CS Auto Tech.
He's getting them all. He's gonna get them all. All right.
Too funny. Val Kilmer.
Hey, look who's dialing in from vacation.
Yeah, Clint, I saw. Good morning, Clint.
Nice.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for
being on.
checking in. Man, how great was it to have him there all day on training day? That was fantastic.
Well, and his son too. That was
fantastic.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Two of them there.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, Sid, Josh has the TV in the training center on with Bead Maker.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
good. Very cool. Very
Morning,
cool.
Josh.
Good morning, Josh and Eric. We've got Eric Rutledge over there with him from Wisconsin.
From my favorite town of all time in the world, Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Oh, here comes the cat. He is in front of the screen now.
I had a tail. It's okay.
Little fluffy white tail. Oh, it's too funny.
Yep. Well, I have a feeling Josh is bringing one of the dogs or two of the dogs down this afternoon during the break.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Frank says Release is amazing. Man, I love it. Release, we have a lot of funny stories on PNS about Release. Is that, it was one of those products where we did have some pushback at first, the internet. They said, why did you guys come out with this? This is silly. And now and I said, everybody just wait. Just wait. Breathe. Wait till people get it.
Yep.
It's going to be amazing.
Be calm. We'll be fine. Be calm.
Yep. All right, Alex, Release saved me on a nasty excursion interior. Those vehicles should be illegal. They're too big and too ridiculous. I agree. That in every single minivan.
We know who we can send minivans to, so there we go.
Yeah.
All right. Johnny-opolis.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
We have the whole world covered at this point.
So
Defender in high humidity in Puerto Rico. It's great.
Yeah. It's just such a versatile, great product for us.
Yep. Yes, Alan, we need to catch up. We've both been too busy.
Yep.
Hello to all from Don in Indiana.
Hey, Don. He's just next door here.
Yep.
Good afternoon, mate. I love it.
XM Ghost. X6M Ghost. I always forget the 6. Good morning, my Bead Maker bros. Good morning.
Wow. Okay, here's a comment.
All right. Stoich says, searching for a ceramic coating that will stick to polished metal like polished wheels. Man, that one's a little bit hard. Matt, do you deal with polished metal too much?
Well, it's going to depend upon, what the metal is.
Yeah.
I try not to coat metal wheels. Mm-hmm. I know some people may want to do it, aluminums, things like that.
Yeah.
We tend to only coat like polished, or painted wheels. So your black. I wouldn't personally make a recommendation on that. I wouldn't want to coat it metal.
Same. You know what I do with metal wheels is I give them a bottle of Defender and I say, every time you wash your car, wipe your wheels down with Defender. Yeah, because I agree. I agree.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think it's setting the customer up for it's setting them up for disappointment in the coating process, and you never want to disappoint somebody with what a ceramic coating is, right? And so that's I just give them Defender and tell them to wipe them down.
Yeah, I think if it's a clear coated wheel or if it's a chrome wheel, you probably can coat it with whatever your standard paint coating is. Mm-hmm. If it's a polished aluminum, because they're so porous, they just absorb the stuff differently. And I would probably decon the hell out of it real well with a paint prep and then put Defender on it. And hey, unfortunately, those are aluminum wheels. You paid extra for that patina, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Chris.
Stoich says, I tried out Inspiration View on the polished metal. Curious how that's going to hold up. Probably not too well. One, for the reasons what we just talked about, but also Inspiration View is the glass coating. It really was meant for glass. And so, as much as I love to push the issue with using products not for their intended purposes, this is one that I'm going to stick with Dave on and say that one should just stay on the glass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And now coming up is a great question. And I think this is, we probably can apply this to almost every product we're going to talk about. So I'll let you guys have that.
Yep. So Mike says, I'm sure that this has been talked about, but is release pet friendly? Do I have to follow up with a different product to be safest? So this is a great question. And the reason this is a great question is not only do our pets go in our cars, but I've also been a big fan of using release on my carpets in my house because I do have 3 animals that track a lot of hair. And I'll tell you what, I've been spraying lightly, my living room carpet, and then I walk away for a minute or 2, and then I come back and vacuum it, and the vacuum picks up way more hair. So I think that knowing Dave as our chemist and what we know about him, he would never use anything that would not be pet friendly in this case. And there's really not any cleaners in release, which would be the ones that we would be worried about. So there's an anti-static, there's an odor neutralizer, and there's an anti-soil, but there's not necessarily any cleaners. So I don't think you need to be worried at all. I mean, I've been using it for weeks, months, my animals don't have any issues. It does pretty much dry and dissipate. So I think you're totally fine.
Yeah, I think if they lick the wet product, it'd be like licking any wet product and probably not advisable.
Yeah.
But once it's dried and done being used, I think you're fine.
Right.
It'd be worse than any other household interior cleaners that are on the floors. I mean.
Yeah. It's no different than walking across the floor that just got mopped with cleaner, actual, cleaner. So no, nope, you're good.
Yep.
Great question though.
And if you really, really are concerned about it, the product that you would neutralize anything with from us on fabric would definitely be Finisher. And once that product again dries and dissipates, you're going to have no problems. So
yeah.
All right, Alex, I just love that.
Yeah, he's finally going to calm down now and stay in his co-host seat. So that's nice.
Yeah.
My wife uses Terminator. So we have carpet bomber. We keep the products in the house.
Oh yeah,
she uses
100%.
Terminator around just where we have a litter box next door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got actually now has about a release, but she has Terminator and release back there stuff. Vacuum right near the end. So
yeah, totally. Me too. I use it on my house carpets all the time.
There's residential uses for these products, guys. I promise you.
Oh yeah. Well, I had sick kitties all last week. I mean, they were, and they've picked and Sydney knows it's the rug in our formal living room.
It's the white rug. Yep. Yeah.
No, they go on the green rug, the expensive area rug, and I'm like, dude, that's not the grass. It's not a litter box. Knock it off. But they go in there and they upchuck and they do everything else, and I'm like, so I have the trio sitting there. I need to get the release in for vacuuming, but I use those products in the house almost every week.
Yep.
And Finisher on the shower doors or glass shower doors.
Oh yeah.
So for the glass, because it's got the anti-fogging properties.
Oh yeah, totally.
It works great.
Yep, totally. I use Reflect on my mirrors. Yeah, it's so great. All right, Dawn, I think we need to change the carpet system to a 4-step system. Now with release, the system works even better. It totally does. Absolutely. Love it. Keep some of that dirt out of the carpet before you use Terminator. It's just great. And then I use it actually on top of, so I do release, then I do Terminator, Carpet Bomber, Finisher, and then right before I deliver the car, I go back with release, do another final vac, and leave behind the scent of release, and it's great.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. Of course, I don't know what we call that, step 0 and step 5. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we've got about 40,000 bottles numbered 1, 2, and 3. So
right. Yeah. Yep. We can't change it yet. More of those. All right.
Combo release.
Conway says best pet hair combo is release and a blowout tool. That is for sure.
Yep. Well, I will also say, the fur eels don't hurt at all either. So
yeah.
Hey, the gazelle is here. Mazel the gazelle.
Oh my goodness. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Big T.
Big T. All right. Hello from Puerto Rico for Johnnyopoulos. That's nice that Johnny's here this morning.
So this is a great question, and I deal with a ton of pollen at my place, so I'll let you guys go first.
Yeah. So Steve says, as we transition to pollen season, are you changing the way you approach exterior detailing? Matt?
Well, I mean, as you guys saw, literally some days the ground is literally green, and it's particular challenges. So, one, in our shop, nothing does not ever go out without protection on it. So that's number one. Number two, no matter if you're ceramic coating inside or out, I think you have to be aware that there is additional things to be in the air. So it's also, and again, it's like making it better and worse when you have to pull the cars outside to take a look, just being a little bit more careful. Those are really the biggest things. It's just, remember, if you're going to be dry wiping and that, this is where, again, Bead Maker, the fender comes into play. There's nothing worse than having a finished car that may have had to sit outside for an hour and pull back in, and then somebody goes to dry wipe all your perfect stuff. So I think that's the most important component is just make sure you have a bottle of something that's got lubricity in your hand with a good clean towel before you touch your car.
Yeah. And for me, I'm not really changing anything because this is one of those things that I file under that it is what it is. I do my exterior details the same. I mean, obviously, like as far as like the pre-treatment and stuff, of course, you're very, clued into that there's pollen on the surfaces. But as far as like avoiding the pollen, it is what it is. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do that is going to help avoid the pollen. So,
Yeah. So with the pollen, I actually exterior detail, I don't think is any different for me. I mean, you're going to wash, decon, do all that. Actually, it's the inside for me because I have a black interior and I open the door and I get in and out of my truck. I don't drive around with the windows open on my property, and my dashboard gets yellow dust because we have yellow pollen. So my thing is make sure that you do dress the interior pretty decently so you have a nice smooth surface, because then you can wipe it off. But for those of you who own detail shops, this is your opportunity to sell a bottle of Swift and a couple of towels to a customer to wipe down that interior, because that's where I see the pollen most. As I get in the car and I'm like, God, it's like a yellow dust storm in here.
Yep. Gabriel replying to Tony, "Hey Tony, still no bottles for natural finish. I keep asking. One day we'll win."
I point.
I know, Gabriel.
We know.
Bob knows. He hears ya.
Yep. Hey, look who joined us, Jody Cedric. Hey, Jody.
Jody, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
X6M Ghost. Man, that's hard. I just want to call him XM Ghost. What's everyone's opinion on the Eurofiber 50/50 pad being the best pad for one steps? Well, we think it's the greatest. I do love it. I mean, I would say that probably the maroon pad is my number one. Yeah. But the Eurofiber, I call it the Oreo pad. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. The only thing that keeps me from using that every single time is the fact that you have to blow it out. I don't like, normally with like the maroon pads, I use probably 10 pads a car. I know that's way overboard, but you know me. But the thing is with the Oreo pads is I feel guilty using 10 of them. And so you have to blow them out, and I make a mess when I blow out my pads in my home garage. So, I wear black leggings. It gets all over me. So, but they're such a great pad.
Well, I mean, Matt, I think saw it firsthand for the first time.
Words out of my mouth. Yep.
Had you used that pad before, Matt? Curious, had you used that pad before?
I had somebody given me one.
Okay.
So yeah, but never. Again, the difference is like I was saying, being able to spend the time with the pads and truly kind of test them. We did. We saw it firsthand. I mean, modern BMW paint.
Right.
The staff came to us and said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. We're not seeing correction." We went over, looked, tried with maroon. I think we even tried the blueberry. Didn't work.
Right.
Rehab and the Oreo, or whatever you call I call the Eurofiber pad. That BMW. I mean,
the official name.
I've got video of it out there. That was 95% correction in a one-step process.
Yeah, it was wild, right? Absolutely wild.
Wipe and coated.
Wild. Yep.
Yeah, we love it.
Yep.
Great pad.
All right.
Christine, Chad. I love when people put their name. I love that. That's awesome. GM Black paint needs all the rehab and years of therapy it can receive. No joke. No joke. I just straight out charge double for GM Black paint.
I think that's the thing with therapy, and we were talking about it. There's so many instances where one step is too much, right? Where it's to get what the customer needs is on, let's say, whatever. Let's say if you're using a Eurofiber pad, depending on where it's nasty, right? With a white pad or yellow pad, that's where therapy really can matter. And again, don't be afraid to think it's a two-step. Just stop taking steps out of your brain.
Right. Yeah.
Say, if I were to take and do 2 quick passes with a white pad in therapy, how much better the car will look. So yeah, so it's
Yep. And that's what I did on that Porsche. I just ripped it with that first pass of Oreo and rehab, and then 2 passes with therapy, and it was, so great to not try to stress over, trying to get a one step in.
GM Black, older, classic.
Oh, we knew what you meant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we knew what you meant.
We knew what you meant. Yep. So yes, this is true. So depending on the pad, some are too soft for the 50-50 pad. That is so true. So the Oreo pad you're going to use more on harder paint for sure.
Yeah. Like on a 3 Series BMW, that actually has a soft paint on it, whereas the 5s and 7s have a hard paint. So yeah, you're going to change it up. But when you really have those hard paints, it's amazing what you can get done with that pad. So you always have to, but the beauty with rehab is all you got to do is tune your pad in because you've got the right product. 90% of the time it's the right product. So that's the beauty of it, unless you're dealing with the black Mustang paint, and then all bets are off.
We're going to try to show this week kind of some of the just some of the differences between rehab with the pads that we have left over. Tony, thank you for leaving some test pads for us this week from Buff and Shine. We are going to take some cars through. We've got a bunch of different cars in, so we'll show you kind of the difference to where one pad to the other and a whole different group of vehicles. So the paint's going to be different, obviously. So I'll be able to show that to you. Talk about my core.
So. Yeah, Bob wants to know about your core values. Sure. It probably means in business. Yeah.
Core values in my business. Number one, I understand that my employees literally are the make and break for my business. I would love to tell you that I take care of everything. I don't. So number one, ensuring that the goals of my business align with or help further the goals of my employees. So that's number one, because at the end of the day, I have to have people show up. For instance, I'm here, the shop's 10 minutes away, it's open, people have to be there. So that's number one. Number two, I am a person who understands that I'm in this for the very long haul, that if I continue to build solid relationships with clients and the community, that it will benefit me, not necessarily today, this week, this month, but down the road. Which means as we grow, maybe we grow slower than we want from a business standpoint, but it's about building that long term. You guys saw it firsthand, the number of people that come to the shop that have done multiple services or have multiple cars. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
And to keep it simple, kind of the final core value is the most important thing we have is the reputation of our work, and that opinion really only matters from what the customer is thinking. But if you make the priority of your business to provide great customer service, to ensure that client's happy every single time to the best of your abilities, you'll be successful. And I think that's really, really important. I always say here that if you're not happy with the work, you're not paying, right? That's why we have all 5-star Google business reviews. We always tell clients that we're not perfect. We may have missed a few things. And we're just straightforward and honest with it. When we mess up, trust me, we throw ourselves in the grenade, try to make the customer happy, and move on. So I just try to keep it simple. Kind of some core values.
Yeah. And I think just to follow up on that, the things I observed was obviously how ingrained in your community you are. And that I can't even stress enough how important that is to be a good community member. and on all levels, right? I mean, you got to get yourself out there, you get your face out there, you join, networking groups and other business groups. And, I mean, we saw that Thursday night when we came in that you're ingrained in other business groups, not just detailing, not just cars, right? And so you get yourself out there as like a strong community member. So that was number one. And then number two, that a little bit off course of core values, but one thing that stood out to me too was because I only started doing this in my business maybe a year ago, and I've been in business for 14 years, so I'm way behind the game on this. But rather than talking to people over the phone, you have them come to your shop. And I started doing that a year ago. So someone calls with an issue. I've got tar down the side of my car. I've got these weird scratches. You have them come to your shop. You don't waste the time talking to them on the phone, telling them prices. And I just started doing this a year ago. And we saw it a couple times while we were there, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys, if you're not doing this in your business, this closes the sale for you and you spend much less time. You build confidence, you build that customer service, is having people come by to talk about their car in person, doing the test spot. I mean, we saw a guy roll up. Matt has a polisher ready. He has a pad ready. He had a Tony ready to go right there,
that's
right?
Great.
But somebody ready to go, and you do the test spot, and it causes immediate buy-in from the customer. And I thought about all the years that I tried to explain this stuff over the phone. And how does it end? Okay, I'll think about it. But right there, I mean, the guy didn't even question it. And I've probably done 20, 30 coatings this year by the same way. Have them stop by, show them what I can do, talk to them about their car. People love to talk about their cars. And it makes it so much easier. So that was just something that I observed, was your connection to your customers and having that face-to-face level of customer service and how easy it made that process.
Yep.
So I thought
it's not going to work. Really, it's not going to work out every time. And here's the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. People will call when we're talking about what can you do to fix my paint. I always tell people that's going to depend. I have to see it in person to be able to give you.
Yeah.
So immediately, it's not about because we can do this and that. It's when can you come in for that estimate? Mm-hmm. Hopefully, it's same day. But once you bring them in the door and you show them in person, like I said, because that's our playing field, right? Yeah. You've got tools there at your shop or at your van, wherever it is, to show a customer what they're going to buy beforehand. And the thing is, once they're pressed, stop talking. And is it going to be? Are we booking you tomorrow or Thursday?
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing is, Matt, the tool you have there to work with them on is the shop, right? The way you run your operation, the fact that your staff all wear the same uniform, that you've built out your building and your operation to look like you know what the heck you're doing. You know, so you've instilled confidence. Then you go out and you do your test spot, and then the customer standing there in front of you go. And the other thing is they've already committed. They committed by coming by. So they're serious, and you're not spending time with a tire kicker.
Yeah,
it's a huge part of the program.
That was the other component about the test. People will say, "Well, if people don't want to come by, then they weren't serious."
Right. And you guys can move on to pursuing the customers who are, which again is a value add to you and your customer base. So,
absolutely.
I have one from a distributor who just hit me up. So this is a left fielder. This is from the Moments of Internet Uncertainty.
Yes.
My predecessor,
bring that back.
Mr. Mazelle's program. All right.
Got to bring that
back. Here's the question. I got to get to it now. I have a customer having some issues with rehab using a blue or yellow Rupes pads. These are the wool pads, I think. It's getting extremely sticky on a brand new gray F-150. The only way to remove it is panel prep. Any idea what to try? He has been using rehab and loving it on lots of other vehicles. I'm assuming those are Rupes wool pads, and I'm guessing that he's probably using too much product.
Right.
Getting pads.
And I just don't think you need to go to a wool pad on a brand new car. That's kind of my feeling on that.
The blue Rupes microfiber combo pad, right? I think people forget it generates a ton of heat. It's probably on a dual action polisher. He's trying to really do this great job, and he's grinding that paint, and he's just overheating the heck out of the panel.
Yeah.
Again, like I tell Matt, save some clear coat for the rest of us.
Yes.
Back off the panel for a second. Maybe turn it down. Let's look at a different foam pad option. That would be my initial thoughts. And keep it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think it's probably too much product, but I also think, Ford brand new Ford paint is absolutely a delight to work on. That I think a wool pad, you're probably taking too much clear coat and it's just not necessary. I would switch to like a blueberry or even the burgundy pad is just going to make life so much easier. But probably there's not any reason to be using a wool pad.
Yeah, I agree. I think people miss that. You don't have to be as aggressive. We talk about
Yeah.
the level of cut and finish you can get from modern foam pads
Yeah.
and either all-in-one or correcting creams.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is let the pad spin, let the pad do its thing, not too much down pressure.
Yeah.
I think we overwork.
Yeah.
As a detailer, we are overworking the whole thing. Let the tool, the product do their work. And then if they're not getting it, we always think more is better. Oh, I'll grind harder. Well, no, maybe you should change the pad to a different type of pad and work through that process to dial yourself in first. So I'm not saying this person's doing that, but that was a good question. So I've asked back, is it wool, microfiber, or foam? And we'll see what the answer is. Maybe we'll pick this up again. All right, great question. I'll take the operational one because this is the one that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
How is the transition to the new warehouse and shift in operations, shipping? Hope all is going to plan. No, it's not going to plan. It's going ahead of plan. So we actually expect things to be done more quickly than we thought, which is great for the transition. And that will mean that for those who don't know, our production and shipping location will be moving to, and has been moving, you just don't know it, has been moving to Southern California for all P&S operations. So the training center, the factory store, the operational management offices will stay in Hayward, but our production facility will move to Santa Clarita, as well as all of our shipping and out process stuff. And that's going actually quite well and ahead of plan. So we're excited about that. Accessories are the final piece, and they're being moved now to both Detroit and to SoCal. So I think they're going well. And for all of us, we know, Matt, change is just upheaval, and there's none of us like upheaval. Like we kind of like we like to be comfy, like a little white cat on the chair back there. We like a comfortable spot, and so when things are uncomfortable, it's perceived as not good. It's not good or bad. It's just different, and we're all changing. So we'll be happy to kind of be settled in on that, and then we'll go to our next big thing, whatever that is. We don't know yet. So, all right.
Okay. All right. So it is 8:30, which I'm fine. Are you good, Matt? We have about 20 questions left. We might have to go into speed round because there's some great questions coming up.
100%.
All right. Chris says, I used Release for the first time a couple weeks ago. I was a little nervous about how strong the smell was, but it faded really fast. I like it. Yes, I love it. Yes.
Free added benefit. Good smell.
Yes. Yes. Correct. It fades fast. Yep. But it just the perfect amount hangs around, which I love. Like my car still smells a little bit fresh in a couple days. So I love that. Gabriel, maybe I'll get banned for this, but Vue works on metal. That's great that you've been able to get it to work on metal. But here's the thing, Gabriel, I appreciate that. However, there's so many different levels and types and substructures of metal that we as PNS would never claim that Vue works on it. But if you have found something that it works on, knock yourself out.
And I will say, if you're coating a porous metal, you're probably looking at 2 layers. So, I mean, just kind of to get it to level. So, all right. Good morning.
Michael Scherer. Good morning. Alex, Archie's stealing the darn show. Yep. He can't figure out if he's awake or asleep. Happy Monday, Fred from Glovebox.
Hey,
thanks for joining
Fred.
us. David says, can Defender be used in the wash clay seal process? No. No, please don't. It does not have lubricants in it like Bead Maker does or paint gloss. So I would definitely not recommend that. Defender is meant to be used dry. So the problem is the SiO2 component in Defender is not going to work with the paint in a wet environment the same as it does with Bead Maker. And also it does not have lubrication. So then you're basically just claying your car with no lubrication. And I promise you it will scratch. We tested this and not pretty. Don't do that. Yeah. Use Bead Maker, put Defender over the top at the end. when it's dry. Fred, I'm going to use rehab this week on my 50 Mercury and we'll test a few pads and see what works the best. I can't wait to get into it. Have fun. Those older cars they're a mystery. That's fun.
Yeah. So, is it original paint? Is it single stage paint? Has it been repainted with clear coat? Would love to know more, Fred, and take pictures and share them to us on the Bead Maker Lounge. Let us know how it goes.
Yep. Claus says rinseless wash doesn't do the same as release or paint gloss. What does it do different than these two? Man, this is something I need to make a long, in-depth video on. So first of all, since release, I know since release has come out, I have seen everybody using everything under the sun. And one of the number one things that people talk about is using an APC, so Express Interior, Carpet Bomber, or just a regular APC. Don't do that. Absolutely don't do that. You guys, you're leaving surfactants on the surface, which are then going to pull the dirt off your shoes and everything else. Don't use an APC. The rinseless wash, I'm not a fan of this because if you do this test, if you take Absolute in a spray bottle and release and spray them on a surface next to each other, the Absolute is going to be much heavier, denser droplets of water than release. This is the way the product is made. So Absolute has polymers in it that encapsulate things. So those water droplets are heavy. So if you spray Absolute on the carpet, now I'm not saying this is the worst idea ever, it's just not the most ideal, okay? So you spray Absolute on the carpet, it's a much heavier, denser droplet of water. And you're actually using water, right? And it's not going to work the same. Absolute does not have an anti-static in it in the way that paint gloss or release does. So will it work? Maybe. But now what you're doing is you're running the risk of you're vacuuming them up heavier droplets of water, that those polymers are there, right? You could damage your vacuum. It's too wet. Mm-hmm. Paint gloss is still a great option. It's still a great option. I'm never going to not say it is. But it doesn't have that anti-soil. It doesn't have the odor neutralizer. So can we still use it? Absolutely. The reason that we got away from that was because it wasn't formulated for that. And so it was one of those things where somebody would say something about it and Dave would be like, but I didn't make it to use as a vacuum aid. It's not what I made it for. And so it's still, the anti-static is still going to work, but it doesn't have the anti-soil. It doesn't have the odor neutralizer. And release was just specifically formulated for this purpose. So when it comes to being the most efficient and using products, we met with a distributor or a detail shop on Friday at length. I know Keith did and Tony did, about using products that are efficient for that purpose. This specific detail shop was buying inferior chemicals, thinking that they were saving money, but in turn, they were spending so much money on labor, which is the most expensive part. And so my feeling on this is if there's chemicals out there that they don't cost a lot of money and they make your labor, or even myself, I want to make more money in a shorter amount of time. Matt wants to pay his staff a shorter amount of time to do that service. It's better to use a product that makes you more efficient, not using products that are not intended for those purposes because they end up making your labor take longer. So if you look at it from that aspect, try release. And I promise you, every single person that's tried release is like, oh yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. So that's how it's different. So I'm not a big fan of using rinseless wash because of what it does to the water and the density of that water with, what is making it a rinseless wash. So.
Okay. Yeah. Don't abrogate a product to a use it shouldn't be at. Everybody says, well, paint gloss works. Yes, it does. But my thing with paint gloss is if you're not shampooing the carpets after, you're leaving a little bit of silicone residue from that.
A little bit. Yep.
And I'm not a real fan of doing that into the carpet. Yeah. If you're going to shampoo it after, I guess it doesn't matter. But again, you're creating work for yourself by having to remove that. So use release and I think you'll find it's a better answer. So just a few hellos here, people waving. Hey, wise guy, thanks for joining the show. By the way, those were yellow and blue foam pads from Rupest on that Ford paint.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I think he may be using too much product. I will have to call our distributor and have a conversation.
That's interesting. Stoic says, I have a client that is set on a specific extractor shampoo that is non-toxic, non-corrosive, biodegradable, and 100% organic. Fortunately, it's hard to get. What can I replace it with? Keith, do you know anything about our extractor shampoo? I love our extractor
Use our
shampoo.
extractor shampoo. It fits all the bills.
It's absolutely great. It smells amazing. Love it.
Yep. Now, I think Sid and I will both tell you we're not really big extractor shampoo people anyway. If I'm going to use an extractor, I'm using just straight water, distilled water if I've got it, if I've got bad water in my market. And my reason for that is it's really a rinsing agent. But I do know some folks who only shampoo the carpet with the extractor shampoo. They don't do a carpet cleaning process. And if that's the case, then I guess extractor shampoo would be the way to go.
And I don't use the extractor shampoo in vehicles, I'm going to be honest, but I use it on my Swiss Tracks in my shop. Works fantastic. And then I use it in my home as my extractor shampoo in my home, and it's awesome.
Yep.
Love it.
And, my thing is if you want something that's, let's see, what am I reading here? Non-toxic, non-corrosive, biodegradable, 100% organic, straight water will work for you.
Water works every time.
Every time.
Fred, hi, everybody. Everybody. Don, are we any closer to those small scent bottle labels being an option to buy? I just bought some small glass bottles on Amazon so that I can make up fragrances for a client. I will follow up with Bob on that this week. We have got to get those out because I know we keep saying that we will. I think they're just trying to figure out, we just need to get with our label company and see if they can print them in succession. So we follow up on that. They're so cute. Steve, now I will say his next comments is he means to say Matt. I caught some of the photos on your shop, but wanted to comment that it looks really nice. Was that building you had custom built or was it converted from something else?
It was an old Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. Yeah, so it had and you know what I think the coolest part is the glass garage doors.
I hate it.
Do you? But they're a huge draw. It
robs us of light. It's really hot.
Yeah, but it does look great.
It looks awesome. I'll deal with it.
Amazing.
We can tint it, but it looks good. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, I think thanks to the golf course, you're getting kind of an opaque glass transition on
one panel at a time.
Yeah. And I think the opaque is kind of the cool look because you get an idea there's something in there, but and I will say in today's market, there's probably a lot of Jiffy Lube, Oil Can Henry, and other buildings out there because a lot of those franchises have gone away. So I've always loved the idea of those buildings as a conversion for a detail shop. I think they're ideally built for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
no worries.
Travis says, Sydney, I spent 3 hours doing a detail on my truck Friday morning. That evening, I got caught in a 5-minute rain shower. Do I need to rewash it or use a detail spray? Depends on if you drove or not. If it was just sitting in the rain and you didn't drive, you can probably just use a detail spray. If you actually drove and there is contamination along the bottom of the vehicle, I would probably wash it. Yeah, I would rinseless it. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yep.
Well, coming in from over the top, boom, we got X6M Ghost is saying exactly that.
Yep.
You guys, keep rinseless wash available in your shops. We always have buckets and bottles of rinseless wash.
Yeah, I have those sprayers. Yeah, you can. You can get away with the big sprayer. Soak it down and use a drying towel. You should be good to go. Yeah, you're going to need to really wash it. Yep.
Wow, lots of put on that one. Cool. All right, here we go.
Stoich says, I finally got to use Absolute. I took the E30 to a car show and didn't get a chance to wash beforehand. I found a tap, filled the bucket, and washed it in front of everyone. First time using it. What'd you think?
Here we go. I think we have the answer to that.
Yep. Everything about it felt so wrong, but dang, did it do a good job. Amazing product. Yes. It is always kind of funny. And we had a lot at the training that were like, I've never done that before. And they were like, that was so crazy. But many of them, especially the mobile detailers, were like, man, this would save me so much time on certain vehicles. And absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And not even on just the time to do the vehicle, but on the setup time.
And the drying. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jamie says, good morning. I ordered release, but was missing in my order that arrived Saturday. Looking forward to when it arrives. Yeah. So there is right now, they do ship out of a couple different places. So it's probably not missing. It's just coming in a different box. That happens all the time right now.
Yep.
So it should be there. Steve, Absolute on a coated car is a great experience, especially on an E30 where you don't want to hit those older weather seals with high pressure water for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, E30, we're talking about a BMW older 80s body, which is still my favorite car that I've ever owned. So.
Yep. Danny says, I'm in love with Reflect. I have a part process to glass and windshields. Reflect is in my top 5 for sure. Fred says, it's Spy's Hecker paint and it was painted 30 years ago. 6 coats of clear and it's 2-toned. I will send pics when I'm done. Okay, Fred, the only thing I'm going to suggest here is have a bottle of therapy on hand. Definitely on these older paints, older cars. That's where that 2-pass buzz with therapy is going to make all the difference at the end.
And maybe even have a little ultra coat because of the solvents in it. You may have very, very, very dry paint that needs some hydrating with some solvents. So,
yeah, therapy does a great job hydrating paint, though.
It really does.
I've had dry. Yeah,
so
dry. It's doing a great job rehydrating.
Yeah, I mean on that 55 Chevy, just the buzz over.
Yeah,
leveled all that out and made it look very uniform. So
Yep. Cool. X6M Ghost. Do you guys prefer a pad washer to clean out your pads during a detail, or what do you put in? Absolute ONR. So here's the deal. I don't like pad washers, but I will tell you the solution that is my favorite if you're using one. I fill the pad washer and I do a couple ounces of rags to riches and an ounce or 2 of absolute, or not an ounce or 2. I guess it would be 1 ounce. It's 2 capfuls of absolute in the pad washer. I think that's a great combo, but no, I do not like pad washers. I blow them out and I like to have enough pads to cycle out throughout the entire vehicle. So I'm usually 6 to 8 pads per car of a certain color. That may just be the bougie part in me that I like to have a good, nice, clean pad. I find that it makes me more efficient. That kind of comes down to that investment, that pre-investment for efficiency on the back end, ends up paying for itself. The other thing I'm not real loving about a pad washer is once you introduce water into that pad, it changes its cutting ability. So I am not a fan of using a pad washer during the detail. If you don't have a washer and dryer handy or a way to wash them, I think a pad washer at the end of the detail to clean up your pads is fine. But I don't like to use it during the detail because I don't like to introduce water into my pad.
Agree.
So, yeah, I mean, if I get a pad wet in the pad washer, it's going to the drying stack. It's not coming back.
Yeah.
To the vehicle.
Right.
And that's just because products today are not designed to have the wet. We talked about this mopping a car from the old days. We don't do that anymore, and there's a reason because the products and the pads don't play well together. And so, Sid, describe your process. You're done with that pad for that car. What do you do with it? And then what's the recovery process of that pad?
Yeah, so I usually use 1 pad per panel is kind of my feeling. If I'm using the Oreo pad, I blow it out between every single pass. If I'm using a foam pad, I may get through the whole panel. I may blow it out. I'm not sure. If I feel like it's okay still, then sometimes I'll use it for 2 panels. And blow it out in between, and then I spray it with rags to riches. I have a 16-ounce bottle with about an ounce or 2 of rags to riches in it. Once I'm done with that pad, I take it off the machine, I blow it out, I spray it with rags to riches, and I throw it in a dry bucket. And then at the end of the week, I wash all my pads in the washer, and then just let them air dry. That works really, really well for me. I am not a fan of, you can leave them soaking in water. Don't leave them soaking in a bucket with rags to riches. It eventually delaminates them in the back. But you can leave them soaking in water. But honestly, if you spray them with rags to riches, there's no reason to leave them soaking in water. So that's how I clean my pads. But basically, I like to have 1 pad per panel. I think that it's a great upfront investment. I think you'll be much happier. You can too, if you have, say you have 4 pads, right? Then you would do a panel, blow it out, set it aside, use another pad, use it, blow it out, set it aside. Make sure you're letting that back plate totally cool down. Don't go panel to panel with the same one, even if you've blown it out. It's better to make sure that you're letting that back of the pad completely cool down. So still pad cycle, even if you only have 4 or 6 pads, still cycle those out, but blow them out. But I am a big fan of having enough pads to do a car.
Yeah, totally agree. So, all right, there's a couple things coming up here. So Defender is my first go-to for quick sealant protectant. We'll use Ultra Coat sealant, but I feel like Defender just lasts longer.
Well, it lasts just yep. So no those question. 2 are both rated at 9 to 12 months. So that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And I would probably even say Defender's probably going to give you more longevity just because it's
it's going to provide a little bit higher level sealant too. Bruce's Garage. Bruce was with us training on.
Yeah, so Bruce applied to be an authorized coating installer, and apparently Bruce RTFM'd it. He read the free manual, and the free manual was the instruction sheet, which I now need to change because we used to say 2 layers of product. And we still recommend 2 layers with Inspiration Classic, usually 1 layer of that and a layer of Defender over the top. But you are correct, Bruce. It's 1 layer of stout and you're done and you're good to go on the warranty. So I will change the form because I have not changed it since we added stout. So, hey, I'm glad somebody reads the stuff that I've sent out there.
Bruce. So. You win the Monday.
That's right.
XXM goes, thanks for the thorough reply. You're welcome. Thank you for your time today, Matt and PNS team.
Thank you.
Christine, amazing advice as always. Thank you for maintaining and igniting our passion for us solo detailers. We gotcha. I can always read through.
We translate well.
Have you always used roughly 1 pad per panel? Is this something I've come to prefer over the years? I've probably been doing 1 pad per panel probably for the last 4 years. Because I'm not going to lie, I used to be a mess. And there was one day, so Justin Lobato, who works for Buff and Shine, this was before I went to work for Buff and Shine as well. He showed up in my shop, and I'm not kidding when I say he walked in and threw every single pad in my cabinet away. It was just like chucking them in the garbage. They were all just hammered, ripped, delaminated, and I didn't appreciate the difference in the level of correction. And, for me over the years, I've become I call myself a diva detailer, but all that means is efficiency. It just means efficiency. It means doing the best job you can in the shortest amount of time. And so it was just a skill that I learned once I really got into pad knowledge and pad science and all that, that you got to have pads in good shape. And honestly, if you put the money up front and you get the good number of pads, I've had the same pads now for 2 years. Have barely cycled any of them out, right? And so if you can invest in those pads and you're not overworking them and overusing them, it will actually last you so much longer. So a lot of times I look at things as price per use. So if you're buying a $25 pad and you're trying to do the whole car with it and you're working it to death, it's only going to last you 2 or 3 cars, right? But I have pads now that have done 50, 60 cars, so it comes down to price per use for me and then the investment. And so I'm happier. My pads are happier. They look good. They look professional no matter what case I pull them out in. No one's going to look at me and go, well, you're not going to touch that to a car, are you? I've seen plenty of those in shops. So probably 4 years I've been on the take care of your pads, keep them in good working order, and don't overwork them.
Mm-hmm. And I think the key there is that, same thing in the training center, Sid. We have pads that I've been using since before Tony was there. So again, the big thing for me is you get the same cut you got on your test panel when you cycle a pad every panel, because you're getting a fresh pad, you're getting a fresh cut. The other thing is your pads don't load up with as much product. They're easier to clean, and you don't get any residual buildup of dust. And so somebody complained that, rehab was dusting, and I'm like, it's probably that the pad's really dirty or overloaded and hasn't thoroughly been cleaned yet. So all of those things get minimized. And then you talk about efficiency, it's all the way across the cleaning process.
All right. Hippolito says, greetings from Panama. Can you explain the difference between Wipe and Shine and Shine All? I would like to use one of these as the tire shine. So Wipe and Shine is my number 1 favorite PNS product. I love Wipe and Shine. However, it might be my favorite product, but I don't use it that often because it's not maybe the best choice for big tires. So big truck tires, and I do a lot of those. So Wipe and Shine is my coating. Whenever I'm doing coatings, that's what coating cars get, so that I'm not spraying any silicones in the air, because it is a gel-based product. So you're applying it by hand. It's also like my BMW, Audi. It's my, sedan, lower profile tire dressing. Shine All is just a regular silicone-based dressing. It's not my favorite. I don't use Shine All. I prefer more like dynamic full send, the self-leveling. Shine All is still a great dressing. It looks great. It's just in my business, I'm either a spray it and walk away or apply it like wipe and shine. So I don't use shine all a ton. It is a great dressing though. I'm not speaking down on it. It just doesn't fit the way that I detail. So, but I do think if you're going to go with wipe and shine, you might want a secondary spray on.
Yep. And the thing with wipe and shine is, we use a green flag tip brush to apply it. That product is designed to be put onto wet tires because the gel portion of it displaces the water on the tire. So you get great results that way. If you were to use Shine All on a wet tire, it would disperse the silicone and not make it or keep it as shiny as it is. Shine All is great on a dry tire. Unfortunately, like Sid said, it doesn't self-level when you spray it. So you kind of have to wipe it on almost anyway. But it is a high shine, sprayable tire shine. The other thing is wipe and shine is really a tire shine.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want to use Shine All on exterior trim and other stuff, it's a little more versatile. So if you need it for those purposes too, and you want to have one product, then Shine All can be a fit there.
All right. 404 says with System 400, you can actually go around a vehicle with one pad. If that works for you, great. I would never recommend that just for the reasons that we said before. That's a lot of water and buildup in that pad that's not getting totally clean.
Yep. And System 4000 is the
pad washer. Yeah.
Buffalo. Okay. So Lake Country pad washer. Okay. Yeah. And again, look, they're the manufacturer on it. So they probably, I hope, have done the testing. I think they have. They're that kind of company. So they can only speak to their experience. I haven't.
I think the pad washer is great. It does a great job, but you're never going to get that water out of that pad during the detail. No, it's a great pad washer. I mean, I have one. I use it's great.
There's a lot of, I think, the thing is there's a lot of, everybody's situation's a little bit different. Whether you are mobile, a shop based, your garage based, the end finish result that the customer is looking for. And that's, we talked about this weekend. None of us use one single product from one single manufacturer, and people pick and choose. So I always say, if the pad washer works for you and your business,
right, perfect.
Right.
We all, I mean, trust me, I used one pad on a car for many years, so you're good. Steve, I want to transition to using one pad per panel. It's more costly up front, but in the end, it will net a more consistent finish across the car. I also think it may be more efficient for time. Amen to that. Yep.
Absolutely is. So many people were kind of, I think, taken aback when we said, how long does it take to get around the car with the one-step process? And we're all like, well, we're looking at an hour and 15 minutes. And they go, well, how do you do that? And well, first, your pad works right the first time, every time. And it's the same cut as you got on the first panel because you're rotating your pads. All those factors play into it.
Yeah, and that's a good point is when you are using a pad washer to properly clean your pad between panels, you are adding about 2-3 minutes between panels to properly clean your pad between that panel. So you add that up over all the panels, that's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. All right, Bruce says, awesome. Thank you for the information. Thanks again for the class. I read everything.
Okay, I got a proofreader. Got it.
Perfect. All right, Quality Car Care Products says, good morning, Tony here. I used Release, but I'm not sure if I sprayed too much. Can you provide any tips on this product other than what I saw on YouTube? 2 to 3 sprays per area. Definitely not a lot. I have seen some people putting out YouTube videos that they're just spraying it like more is better. This is like a less is better. 2-3 max.
Yep. You're just trying to get enough material on there to get a light coating so it aids in your efficiency. It is not saturating it for shampoo purposes.
So guys, open the door, spray. 2 sprays per compartment, right?
Yep. And by the way, thanks, Tony, for tuning in. Tony's in LA, so
perfect.
We're covering all corners of the world here. So,
all right,
here we go.
Sending regards from Slovakia. Finally managed to join online. Oh my gosh! Well, welcome. We are happy you're here. We literally have
Lucas. Thanks for being here.
Yes. 404 says I do things differently. LOL. Cut with the DA and finish with the rotary. If it works for you, keep on doing it. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, Joey Belinsky rolling out of bed with the Archie. We'll give Joey a little break. He lives on the West Coast. Hippolito says, it will be better dynamic dressing for tires. Can I spray it on the tires? Yes, I love dynamic. And here's why. Dynamic and full send, when you spray it on the tire, you walk away, you let it do its thing. But here's the thing. If you get overspray on the paint or on the wheel, it wipes off super easy. So that's why I like it. That again, efficiency. I'm not spending time wiping a gummy, dressing off the tire if I, got it on the paint. So that's what I love about dynamic and full send is it super easy wipe off. Okay, another kitty. What's your kitty's name?
That's
Carl.
This
is a different kitty. Carl? I love it.
Total
my
black
other big kitty. Yeah, my other big kitty's right here.
All right, so we're at that section of the show where we're going to sign off, and we are going to get out of here. But we got to talk about where we're going to be next, what we're doing, what's going on, what's happening, what's his app. So, Matt, what have you got going in your market? What's going on in St. Louis?
All right, so we are working on. I'd love to get a couple of more trainings. I know people have been reaching out and they've been asking for really two things. One, either advanced polishing training. So Tony and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
And then number two, business training. Just how do we, from the beginning to the end, get this detailing business going? And that's where we're excited. So those are the two big things. We are heavy into this spring and summer car shows. I think it's an excellent way to connect with new customers. As you saw, we do a lot of classic cars, and it's one great way to connect. We're associated with My Detail Supply, so whether it's online or in St. Louis, we have products available for folks. And we're looking forward to a really, really, really huge summer. Please follow social media. We try to keep up. I try to keep the type of training videos on the My Detail Supply portion of things that I do. So make sure you follow My Detail Supply, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the good stuff. And if you need products, you have it there. On the personal page, it's more about the detail shop and my personal life. So we try to split those out. Always, if people have questions, video requests, training requests, again, we're located in St. Louis. You've got, let me know. I mean, we are happy to make content for you, answer questions, even trainings. And kind of like I offered every single person there, the shop is always open. If you're looking to get yourself some more reps in on polishing cars or rinseless washes or interiors or used pads, come on down to the detail shop. We're always willing to take free labor, right? I mean, so we do. We have a lot of people that come in because like, hey, it's been a month since I polished a car. So that's the big stuff for us. So everyone is always welcome. And of course, thank you to you guys for this weekend. That was crazy. We did some great stuff this weekend.
Yeah, it was so fun. So I definitely do encourage everybody to follow Matt's social media because here's the thing. If you're looking for trainings to go to, if you're in the area, even if you're not, I mean, I'm in Boise, Idaho. I found that it was pretty easy to get to St. Louis. I mean, it was not a bad flight. I mean, I had 2 flights, hour and a half each, no problem, other than delays, right? But it was an easy airport to get into. The hotels are not expensive. It was not an expensive town to go to. And the value that can come from those trainings. I know it's, the advanced paint correction one will be great. And then business, I mean, you've been through it all, right? So, that's my advice is like, learn from people that have been there from the ugly to the shop, and they can tell you everything that they did wrong. And that's the thing is I seek out people that have been through it and are authentic about it and have a story to tell and can tell you the trials that they've been through. And so I think that Matt is a wealth of knowledge there, and we're happy to be, on his team. And it was great being there this weekend. For me, I don't know. I know that there's a lot coming up, but I haven't really thought about it in my head. I think I'm going to Florida. I'm not sure, but stay tuned to our social media. We always let you know where we're going to be. Keith is in Iowa right now with Josh and Eric Rutledge running a distributor training and then a regular training as well, right? A stout training. This week, or are you just doing distributor?
We're doing stout today. We're doing the all-in class tomorrow. So it's our regular stuff. We've got about 14 students per class. So it's full house at Josh's studio. And I promise that I will try to take some good video and pictures. Going to Josh's place is like going to the temple of PNS. The place is crazy. I mean, the dude even has his own PNS University cups. So he's all over it. And then Yes, on the week of the 12th and 13th is PNS Training Week at PNS headquarters, World Headquarters. The 15th is and I love this, and Matt, this is an idea for you. We're doing a mobile rig rally at our Golden Gate North partner in Santa Rosa. So if you're in that area, you guys need to roll out with your trucks, come check it out. Bob, Dave, and I will be there in force. And then that Saturday, it looks like Josh and I will be in Rochester, New York for the grand opening of the Bear Automotive detail and paint store in Rochester. So that gets us to just mid-May. And then the end of May, I'm off to Malaysia to go see if I can change the world there. And yes, I think the first weekend of June, we might be going to DA Superstore in Orlando with Sydney and Josh and a cast of thousands to do a grand opening for them as well. So lots on the agenda. And I think I've covered maybe 10% of what we're doing. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt, for being here this morning. I know we are putting your kids, which we met and we felt comfortable with them running the shop on their own, but I know you're probably itching to get back there and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us today. We super appreciate it. Great to see you again. We look forward to everything in the future. It's going to be great. Keith, have a fantastic day in Iowa. Now I have the FOMO that I'm not there with you guys, but you've got Eric. So everybody have a fantastic week, and I will see everybody in a couple weeks.